All right, what is going on, YouTube? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. And today, again, we are talking about some discrepancies with key collector comics. Let me get started like this, guys. First off, for those just tuning in the channel, if you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, I definitely appreciate you all. But let's just get right into this topic, guys. Many of you know that I've discussed some issues that I've had with Key Collector in the past, okay? And we're going to talk about another one today. But before I do that, because I don't want anyone to get it twisted, I'm going to make a statement, and that statement is this, guys. I want nothing but success for anybody out there doing their thing. I think Key Collector Comics is a very essential tool, or should be a very essential tool, for the industry and for collectors as a whole. I want Key Collector Comics to succeed. I know there's a lot of negative talk about Key Collector and those associated with Key Collector, like Comic Tom as well. I have nothing negative to say about Comic Tom. I watch Comic Tom's channel myself. I appreciate the hard work and effort that he puts into what he does. So before I get into this specific issue we're addressing, I want that to be known. I am not hating on these individuals just for the sake of drama or because I don't like them or anything like that. This is specific to what I'm speaking on because I think it's a problem and I think it needs to be talked about. All right. And that is the information provided on the Key Collector app. There's too many inconsistencies and there's too much misinformation going on. And today we're going to talk about that with the Gambit controversy, guys. Now, I know this has been a controversy for a long time. It might still be a controversial for a long time into the future. But what I feel they're doing is it lacks responsibility. And ironically, we're talking about comic books, and we're going to throw out one of the most iconic lines out there: with great power comes great responsibility. I do not think that Key Collector is using their power responsibly, and we're going to get into it, guys. I'm going to show you guys what's going on here. We're looking at Uncanny X-Men 266, but let's look at Uncanny X-Men Annual 14, guys. Look at what it says right here. First full appearance of Gambit. And then let's look back. Uncanny X-Men 266, second appearance of Gambit and first cover appearance of Gambit. This is false. This is 100% false, guys. Let's break this down, okay? Because I know there's so many of you that are going to try to disagree with me. This isn't my opinion, and I've talked about this before. When I talk about labels, it's not about opinion, guys. Because really, if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't even use the cameo label, all right? But this is what's there. We have industry standard and precedent. And I feel that Key Collector is doing whatever they want and disregarding precedent and disregarding everything else that the industry has been doing for decades and says, I disagree, so I'm going to label it whatever I want on my app, on my website. And the reason why that to me is troubling is because so many people use Key Collector app right now for their information. Key Collector app is a powerful source right now. All right. And this is extremely misleading. Let me break this down like this, guys. We all know that the industry outside of Key Collect recognizes Uncanny X-Men 266 as the first full appearance of Gambit. CGC, CBCS, all the other grading companies, right? Go Collect, Cover Price, even Marvel themselves. All right. This has not been an issue across the board, except for the opinion of collectors, right? The opinion of collectors are those that argue this. Well, Uncanny Annual number 14, that's not a cameo. He shows up on however many pages and how many panels. That's the full appearance, and we're going to get into that. Or there's the argument that the annual was supposed to come out or take place after 266, therefore it's a full appearance, and it came out first regardless. We're going to break this down, guys, okay? We're going to go back to the bare bones, planting the seed of what these labels mean. The first thing that I still see so many people understanding or misunderstanding is the fact that a full appearance doesn't mean we see a character in full. Okay, it doesn't mean we hear them talk. It doesn't mean we see them from head to toe. It's not a full body appearance. A full appearance by industry standard and precedent means that they are fully integrated into that storyline of that comic book issue, meaning they are fully immersed into the story. If we take them out of the story, it's going to impact that story. Okay? A cameo, we have to look at a cameo like this. A cameo is when somebody can appear and shows up. We know that it's them for the most part. They can even talk, but if we remove them from the story, nothing in that story changes. They had no real impact. All right? Now, some argue that a cameo can only happen at the end of a book or the beginning of the book or so forth. A cameo is a brief appearance that sets the full appearance up in that next book. An example, Wolverine, Hulk 180 and Hulk 181, Taskmaster, Avengers 195 and 196, Venom 299, 300 of Amazing Spider-Man, right? But that's how the industry likes to set up a lot of cameos or a lot of first full appearances, but it doesn't mean it's the only way. A cameo can absolutely happen in the middle of the book. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to show you why Uncanny X-Men Annual 14 is not a full appearance. We're going to pull up the book itself, guys. All right? This book has nothing to do with Gambit, all right? It's a story about Phoenix, all right? It's a story about Rachel and coming into, without diving too much into it, Franklin Richards. There's something going on with Franklin and Rachel, and we get X Factor in the book, we get New Mutants in the book, we get Fantastic Four in the book. So think of it like this. This is basically a movie that ties in a bunch of characters, right? It's an X-Men movie that has guest appearances. Now, a guest appearance can be a minor appearance, or it could be a full guest appearance, or it could be a cameo guest appearance, right? So I'm going to tell you why Gambit's appearance here is merely a cameo. So here we are halfway into the book, guys. We're halfway into this book, and remember, this is a giant size annual book. All right? And we see Gambit here for the first time. All right? Basically, Storm is saying, a man who dresses as you do and calls himself Gambit. We have a name. Okay, remember, just because we have his name, it doesn't mean that it's not a cameo. We have Wolverine's name. We have Taskmaster, I believe, says his name in their cameos as well. Just because they introduce themselves by name doesn't mean that it negates the fact that it's a cameo. So we have one panel here, guys, where Gambit has 2 word bubbles, okay? Then we see him here and he has a word bubble. Two panels, all right? 3 panels, word bubble. 4 panels, and then next page. So let's pull this out, okay? Let's pull this back out. This is 1 page still, all right? So here's 5 panels right here where he's talking again, and 6 panels right here where he's talking again, all right? This is 1 page, and he's fully talking on the page. Let's go over to the next page. Let's zoom in. Let's see what happens. He's not in these panels. He's not in these panels. Here he is right here. We see his back, but he's not talking. Okay? So that's the end of Gambit talking. He talks on 1 page. We see the back of him in 1 panel on another page. Okay? So technically that's 2 pages. Then we see him in the background right here. He's not talking. Okay? 3 pages. Then he disappears. But he's with a bunch of other people. We see him back here. He's not talking. We see him back here. He's not talking. 4 pages. Okay, and all this other stuff is going on. All this other stuff is going on. Is this his head right here? Is that him? Maybe 5 pages in the background, not talking. You could barely see him. All right. Is he back here somewhere? Nope. Nope. And here, let's see. Is this him right here? Is this supposed to be Gambit? Maybe. Maybe. And if so, he's talking one more time. All right, he's in here somewhere, but you can't really notice him. Not talking in the background. All right. And keep in mind, there's a bunch of role players back here as well. There he is. Here's his head. Not talking. All right. In the background here, nope. 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 No more Gambit. No more Gambit. Is he? Oh, look, we see the back of his head again. He's there. He's hanging out. No talking. All right, guys. And that's the end of the book. Okay, look. Let me explain this to you. The argument that this is not a cameo is because Gambit appears on so many pages. Gambit appears on a bunch of pages with a bunch of other people with his back to you most of the time, and he's not even talking, or no color because it's grayed out in the background. You see what I'm saying, guys? Gambit talks on one page, basically. Okay? So, although this is not, more of your cameos do exist is that one page, or one full page, or maybe a couple panels on a back page, and they're talking, right? This isn't that, and I get that, and I get why that can be confusing, guys. I get it. I get it. But when you get out the checklist, guys, when you get out the checklist and you write down what constitutes a full appearance and what constitutes a cameo appearance, check off all those things, and I guarantee you're going to check off more on the fact that it's not a full appearance. This appearance of Gambit is similar to let's take a movie example, okay? This appearance is similar to Chris Evans' cameo appearance in the Thor The Dark World, where Loki turns himself into Captain America, and we see Chris Evans for, a good, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 seconds as they're walking down the hall and he's cracking jokes. Okay, would you say that Chris Evans has a full role in that movie? Absolutely not. Would you say he has a minor role in that movie? Absolutely not. Would you say his role is probably more than a lot of the Stan Lee cameos? Yes, because sometimes in the Stan Lee cameos, he doesn't even say anything. And if he does say something, it's one line. Chris Evans had more than one line in this movie. He had a few lines as they were walking. And then he goes back to being Loki. Okay? What about, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name that played Alexander. Oh my gosh, guys. I blank on names. The Winter Soldier guy, Alexander Pierce. Jeez, I can't think of the actor's name off the top of my head. Robert Redford. That's it. Okay, Robert Redford's appearance in Endgame. That's a cameo, guys. And that's way more like this because he shows up, he's talking, it goes to a different scene, we see him again, it goes to a different scene, we see him again, and then Tony Stark is having he's dying, he's on the floor. Guys, that's a cameo. That's a Robert Redford cameo coming back as this character, right? It's a cameo. This is a cameo appearance. Take Gambit, take this one page where he's hanging out with Storm. He didn't have to be there. Nothing that he did really affects the storyline. This is a cameo appearance. And regardless if it was supposed to come out after or the storyline takes place after Uncanny 266, it doesn't matter. And this goes back to how Key Collector is calling Amazing Spider-Man 134 the second appearance of Punisher and calling 135 the third appearance of Punisher when really it's his second full appearance because 134 is merely a cameo. This is my thing with Key Collector, guys. I try to reach out to Nick He responded once, and then he didn't get back to me. What I would like to do is I would like to welcome Nick on my channel, or maybe on a Comic Book Canon show, where we can discuss these things. We can discuss these things. Because here's the thing. I am not here to blackball Key Collector, and I've said this many times before, but I disagree with him 100%. And so does industry precedent. And here's my issue. So many people say that Nick and Key Collector have special interest, and they're saying whatever they want to say, going against industry standard, because they have some, this conspiracy going on where they're calling these other books, hyping them up as first appearances or something like that, because they're sitting on a whole bunch of copies and, they're making money off of it or something like that. And I'm like, guys, stop with the conspiracy theories. Okay. I am the first to stand up to stand up for Key Collector when these things are going on, for Comic Tom when they're saying, oh, Comic Tom, his top 10 is nothing but, they're going out and specking on books that are worthless just to drive up the value so they can then sell them on eBay. I'm like, guys, there's no proof of that. These guys have substantially certified themselves as businessmen. They're running respectful businesses. But here's my thing. When Key Collector continues to do this and go against the grain and not give any and not show face to the public, we start questioning why. We have to start questioning motive and intent. There is no reason other than either Nick is just so hard-headed and thinks that it's his way. He can do whatever he wants. And look, at the end of the day, Nick can do whatever he wants with his site. He can. He could go on here and say X-Men Annual 14 is the 25,000th appearance of Gambit if he wanted to. He can do whatever he wants. But he has responsibility. There's a responsibility here. Okay? Look, I'm even good with their app saying this is the first appearance of Gambit and leaving it like that. As long as they call Uncanny X-Men 266 the first full appearance of Gambit. And remember, I said this too, guys. I've said this before in the past. Look at Comic Book Realm. Comic Book Realm would say that Uncanny X-Men 266 is the second overall appearance of Gambit, but it's also his first full appearance. Remember, guys, and that goes to this other misconception. Just because we call one appearance a cameo and another appearance a full, it doesn't mean that cameo isn't their first appearance still. A cameo, the first time we see someone in cameo, is still a first appearance. Somebody can essentially have two first appearances. They can have their first overall appearance, but it can be in cameo. And then their second overall appearance can indeed be their first full appearance, okay? To call Uncanny X-Men 266 Gambit's second appearance is completely wrong without context. It's his second overall appearance, but it's his first full appearance. To call Annual 14 the first full appearance of Gambit is 100% wrong. This is from somebody that runs a platform, that runs an app, that's calling Hulk 180 a cameo of Wolverine. That's calling Avengers 195 a cameo of Taskmaster, but calls ASM 42 a full appearance of Mary Jane when it's the same concept. That calls ASM 134 a basic full appearance of Punisher when it's the same concept. You have to provide the proper context. This is misleading, and I said this example before and I'll say it again. Imagine you're a new collector, especially a young one, and you go into your comic book shop and you say, hey, I'm looking for the first appearance of Gambit. Somebody was telling me that it's like Uncanny X-Men 266. He's on the cover. You see him. It's like a green cover. And that LCS owner says, nope. This book right here is the first full appearance of Gambit. Here you go. It's this much money. Whatever the price is. Maybe it's a fair market value, whatever. And the boy says, oh, okay, cool. And they buy it. And then they go home, right? And then they get it slabbed at CGC. And it comes back as first cameo. Or they go online and they see videos and see pictures of everyone else calling Uncanny 266 the first full appearance. And they're like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I wanted. Now, to Key Collector's credit, again, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit here. He adds context stating this. This issue is often cited as a cameo appearance of Gambit. But just because you cite that doesn't mean that your information is right still. But let's go on to read what he says here. There are multiple panels of the character, including a full page with Gambit speaking to Storm, and she addresses him by name. Key Collector, Nick. You are stating that this is a full appearance of Gambit because multiple panels and a full page with somebody speaking to him and him speaking and calling him by name. You're telling me that because the character has multiple panels on a full page and is being spoken to by name and speaks, that equates for a full appearance. If that's the case, Key Collector, then Hulk 180 is the first full appearance of Wolverine. If that's the case, then Amazing Spider-Man 299 is the first appearance. And even more this, ASM 299 is the first full appearance of Venom. But you state otherwise. Now, keep in mind, I will say, Hulk 180 isn't a full panel. It's a large panel, Wolverine full body talking, but he has bubbles in other panels as well before we see him. All right. But in ASM 299, we see Venom's face in 2 panels and he's talking, and then he gets a full page where he introduces himself by name. So Key Collector, you're wrong here. You're right with your label of ASM 299. I agree with how you label 299. I disagree with how you label this. But tell me, by your own logic, multiple panels, full page, call him by name, and he's talking. By your logic, that means you are wrong with other books that you're declaring cameos. There's too many holes here. There's too many holes. Too many. So even by your own logic, you are inconsistent with your database. Your database that thousands and thousands of people use now, that thousands and thousands of people are paying good money to utilize as a database, are being fed misinformation. One way or the other. Even if you agree with the information the Key Collector has for Annual 14, one way or the other, Key Collector app contradicts itself. That's a problem. And that's a problem that I feel that Key Collector and Nick are shutting us out with. They're not willing to at least have the discussion. We need to have this discussion. Whether it's with the facilitator, whether it's Nick and Key Collector and coming out and maybe sitting with Comic Tom. Because I appreciate what, Comic Tom had the comic book guru come on his channel and they hashed it out. And I appreciated Comic Tom for doing that because Tom really disagreed with the guru. But he still brought him onto this channel and he said, why do you feel Key Collector is wrong on this? When they were talking about the Punisher stuff. There needs to be conversation. So I encourage Tom and Nick to maybe sit down on Tom's channel and hash this out. Even if you believe this, Nick, your information contradicts itself from one comic to another. And look, I haven't been sitting here going through the whole database. I haven't. But I guarantee you there's more issues. I guarantee you. There's more issues than the ones that I've seen. That's a problem. It's a problem. We need to have transparency. Okay? Now, I'm going to try to wrap this video up by saying a couple of things. Okay? The first is this. The first is that I know there isn't, when I say industry standard, there isn't a standard that's etched in stone still. And and this is where I give leeway to collectors and even to Nick and Key Collector and Go Collect. Go Collect's been wrong in the past too. I called them out and they saw it and they said we were wrong and they changed it. But getting back to my point, It's tough. CGC's been wrong in the past too. It's tough because there isn't any etched in stone standard. All right, we need that. And even if the publishers or the writers or the artists that are creating these books never come out and set that standard, I think people have suggested this to me too. I think there needs to be like a comic code authority or something. There needs to be a third party organization made up of maybe, writers, people that work for the publishers, influencers, like Comic Tom and people, maybe, executives from Go Collect or even Nick from Key Collector, and they sit on a panel. And every year they go through this to make sure that we have a database that is set up by a standard that we all can agree on and live by with defining terms, just like the founding fathers got together and wrote the Declaration of Independence, just like they wrote the Bill of Rights, just like how they amend constitutional amendments. We need to have that. We do, because misinformation is going to ultimately continue to be detrimental to the hobby in more ways than one. Besides the fact that it's just spreading misinformation. But it's going to have a trickle-down effect on how consumers and collectors appeal to the hobby, and how they exist in the hobby, and how they relate to the hobby, and if they're going to stick around in the hobby for years to come. Now, my second point I wanted to talk about before we end the video here, guys, is this. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Said at the beginning of this video. I want Key Collector app to be resourceful and to be a trustworthy source of information. I love the setup. I love the interface. There's so much good with this app, guys. So much. But this misinformation and the lack of consistency from the information that they provide is a detriment. And until that's set up, I can't use it. I can't depend on it. So what I encourage folks to do, and I encourage folks to do this all the time, never use one source. Never use one source. Whether it's for a fair market value, whether it's for data on the book, spec talking points on a book, use eBay, use Go Collect, use Cover Price. Come to Key Collector, but come to Key Collector at your own risk. That's all I have to say about it. So, guys, look, and like I said, I know I'm going to get some hate in the comments, but I'm trying to be as fair as I can while approaching this firmly. Okay? This information is wrong. Annual 14 is not a full appearance of Gambit whatsoever. It's not. And Amazing Spider-Man 266 is not the second appearance of Gambit without further context. It is the second appearance of Gambit overall, but it's Gambit's first full appearance. So, I know I'm going to get crap, but I got to stand firm. I want these people to succeed. I want Nick to succeed. I don't know him. I'm sure he's a great guy. But I am extremely concerned with what's going on. I have no ill will towards anybody in this hobby unless you're hurting people. And although this isn't actually hurting people, really hurting people, it's going to hurt the hobby because it's going to hurt collectors in that sense, right? So that's what I have to say. So, I encourage all my viewers to stand up. I encourage you all to reach out to Nick and the Key Collector and voice your opinion on this. The more that we speak up, the more we can hold people accountable. All right? And if anybody that, is watching, like Comic Tom or Gem Mint or the Guru or Nick himself, if anybody or anybody else that works for Key Collector is watching this, look, don't take this as an attack. Reach out to me. I'm a humble guy and I'm a businessman. I'm about handling business. Reach out to me. Let's discuss this respectfully. Let's handle business. Let's get on the same page. And here's another thing, and I'll end on this. I don't want key collector. I don't want key collectors, narrow tunnel vision, narrow-minded tunnel vision, or ego. Say, well, you know what? This is what I believe, and I'm running with it. I don't want that to hurt key collector app. I don't want people to be turned away from key collector app because they can't trust the information. So, more and more people are seeing that key collector has inconsistent information or false information. People aren't going to want to use it. I really think this is going to come back and bite them in the ass. So that's why I'm saying, key collector Nick, think of the future now. Build your business model. Build the culture of how you operate your business. We need transparency. We need a two-way conversation here. We need dialogue. We need to get to the bottom of this one way or the other. We need to have the conversation. Even if getting to the bottom of this doesn't mean that we just automatically agree and snap our fingers and boom. But we have to open the door and sit at the table for discussion, no matter how long that discussion takes. With that being said, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Reach out to key collector, guys. Reach out to them. Don't stay silent. Don't just accept this. We have the power of our voice and the power of our purchasing dollar. And we need to hold key collector accountable. Let's allow them to succeed by doing the right thing. All right, guys. With that being said, I'm going to end this. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Be nice. Be humble, guys. Let's have this discussion, but be humble. There's no room for hate. All right. Be well until next time, guys.